Picture a kitchen door frame. You know the one?
Yeah.
It's covered in those little horizontal pencil marks, and right near the top there's a fresh one.
Right.
But if you actually look at the gap between that newest mark and the one just below it, the one from barely a week ago, the distance is honestly a little startling.
That's massive.
Yeah, when you bring a Great Dane puppy into your home, that growth chart on a wall becomes this incredibly exciting family project. Every week, there's, a new line, a new photo next to the giant water bowl for scale. It's thrilling.
It really is. I mean, and it is visual proof of a massive biological undertaking happening right in front of you.
Yeah.
A Great Dane puppy is essentially building a small horse in the span of about 18 months.
Wow.
But that extreme, rapid cellular division is exactly what makes this physical development period so incredibly fragile.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because raising a giant breed isn't just a race to get that pencil mark as high up the door frame as possible, as fast as possible.
No, definitely not.
And that is the mission of our deep dive today. We are looking at the quiet, well-meaning, day-to-day decisions you make around feeding a giant breed.
Yeah.
We're talking about the things you do in that very same kitchen that seem completely harmless in the moment.
Right, but they can drastically alter a dog's structural foundation for the rest of their life.
Exactly.
Because building that foundation requires a total mindset shift. The goal isn't height. I mean, genetics handle the height entirely on their own.
You can't force it.
Exactly. You cannot feed a dog into being taller than its DNA dictates.
Yeah.
What we actually have control over is building a coordinated, lean, and dense adult dog underneath that genetic height.
Right.
You can't make them taller, but you can absolutely make mistakes that permanently derail the joints and bones supporting them.
So to avoid those mistakes, we have to look at the actual fuel being used. I was looking through the source material on pet food marketing, and man, it is a minefield.
Oh, it's terrible.
You walk into a pet store and you see bags screaming like premium, natural, holistic, ancestral, human grade.
Yeah.
It feels like you need a degree just to pick a bag of kibble.
You really do. But the truth is, none of those flashy marketing terms guarantee a single thing nutritionally.
Really, none of them.
None. The only phrase on that bag with true regulatory weight is complete and balanced.
Complete and...
Right. When veterinary professionals use that term, it means the diet provides absolutely everything the dog needs for its specific life stage in the mathematically precise proportions as their primary source of nutrition. It is a closed system.
But look, if I'm standing in my kitchen looking at this lanky, incredibly fast-growing Great Dane puppy, my natural human instinct is that they need, like, turbocharged fuel.
Of course.
I'm thinking I should go to the pet store, buy some bone meal or calcium powder, and just sprinkle it on top of their food to help them build those massive bones. It just makes intuitive sense, right?
Yeah.
Big bones need more calcium.
What's fascinating here is how that intuitive logic actually destroys a giant breed's skeleton.
Wait, destroys it?
Yes. In a puppy's body, calcium and phosphorus operate on a very delicate biological seesaw to build the bone matrix.
Okay.
A complete and balanced large breed puppy food already has that seesaw perfectly leveled out for you. So when you add a random scoop of extra calcium to the bowl...
You just slam one side of the seesaw into the ground.
Exactly. You ruin the balance.
So you're throwing off the whole calculation.
Right.
I'd imagine that's like having a perfectly balanced scientific chemical formula in a beaker, and you just randomly pour in a scoop of mystery powder.
Right.
You wouldn't expect the chemical formula to get better. You'd expect an explosion.
That's a great way to put it. And that explosion in a puppy's body looks like crippled joints.
That's awful.
It is. The excess calcium causes the bones to mineralize too quickly. The growth plates, the soft areas at the ends of the bones when new tissue is formed, they can actually harden and close prematurely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the bone stops growing normally, and that leads to devastating orthopedic diseases like osteochondrosis or severe bowing of the legs.
That completely flips the script. Instead of feeding them to grow faster, a giant breed puppy food is actually designed to control and slow down the rate of weight gain.
Precisely. We want the muscles and ligaments to have enough time to mature and actually carry that massive skeletal frame.
Which makes sense. And we should also touch on the protein myth while we are on the topic of puppy food formulations.
Please. Yes.
Because there's a persistent panic among giant breed owners that feeding high protein causes joint issues or overly rapid growth.
Yeah.
I saw that all over the forums in our sources.
It's everywhere.
People obsessively checking the back of the bag for a low protein percentage, treating it like it's radioactive.
And it's just not true. Protein doesn't drive the speed of skeletal growth at all.
It doesn't.
No, total calorie intake and calcium levels do. Pulling the protein percentage out of context is useless because protein doesn't act alone. It is about how that protein is balanced alongside the calories, the fat, and the minerals for that specific growth stage. You actually need high-quality protein to build the soft tissue that supports those fast-growing bones.
So if adding extra calcium or cutting protein can literally derail a puppy's structural growth, it really forces us to look at all the other sneaky ways calories and nutrients enter a Great Dane's daily life.
Yes, the dreaded calorie creep.
Let's move from the food bowl to exactly that, the calorie creep.
The calorie creep is where the day-to-day reality of living with a dog collides with the strict math of nutrition.
Oh, I know this trap.
Let's start with the feeding guide on the back of the dog food bag. That chart is just a baseline suggestion. The actual portion your dog needs depends heavily on the food's calorie density, the dog's individual metabolism, and their activity level.
Which means consistency is everything. Whether you use a specific measuring scoop, a digital kitchen scale, or pre-portioning containers for the day, you have to know exactly what is going into the bowl.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise, you fall victim to the kitchen trap.
Uh-huh.
I can picture it now. One person adds a little extra kibble in the morning.
Right.
Later, a kid hands over 3 big treats because the dog sat nicely.
Yeah.
During a quiet afternoon, someone gives them a massive peanut butter chew just to keep them busy.
And then you add a few scraps of meat from the dinner table onto that pile, and you have created a massive caloric surplus.
A huge one.
Every single one of those acts feels tiny compared to a 130-pound dog, but they compound exponentially.
Right.
This is why a household needs a coordinated plan. For example, the size of a training treat should match the purpose of the training, not the sheer size of the dog.
Yeah, a 150-pound dog does not need a 150-pound treat.
Exactly.
You can use tiny, pea-sized, low-calorie pieces for everyday training repetitions in the living room. Save the super high-value, bigger stuff for genuinely difficult situations, like a scary vet visit or walking past a barking dog.
And we also can't ignore those table scraps.
Oh, the table scraps.
Beyond just adding unnecessary fat and calories that disrupt our carefully balanced chemical beaker, human food introduces severe toxicological risks.
Yeah. The sources listed several major household toxins: chocolate, onions, grapes, raisins, and xylitol.
Xylitol is a huge one.
I really want to dig into xylitol because it's an artificial sweetener hidden in so many peanut butters and sugar-free gums. The mechanism here is terrifying. It isn't just a stomachache. I read it causes a massive insulin spike.
Yes, it tricks the dog's pancreas into believing a massive amount of sugar has entered the body.
Wow.
So the pancreas releases a flood of insulin, which pulls all the actual blood sugar out of the dog's system.
Oh, so they crash.
Their blood sugar crashes to fatal levels, causing seizures and liver failure, often within an hour.
That is terrifying.
It is. And grapes and raisins are similarly insidious because their exact toxic compound is still somewhat mysterious to us, but we know they cause sudden, irreversible, acute kidney failure in dogs.
Regardless of the dog's massive size.
Exactly. Size does not protect them from great toxicity.
So if your dog gets into any of those, you do not try a wait-and-see approach. And you definitely don't try to induce vomiting at home with hydrogen peroxide. You call pet poison control or get to an emergency vet instantly.
Immediately, yes.
But let's go back to those dinner scraps for a second. If I am sitting at the table and my Great Dane is staring at me, acting famished, practically drooling.
Good classic puppy dog eyes.
Right. My natural instinct is to think, I am underfeeding this poor creature. How do I know if they're actually hungry or just playing me?
Well, appetite by itself is almost useless as a metric for underfeeding.
Really?
Yeah, what you're seeing is usually just strong food motivation, or the dog has simply learned that dramatic begging yields high-value rewards.
They're training us.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And sometimes they eat their meals so fast that their brain doesn't even have time to register the hormonal signals of fullness.
So when does a big appetite actually become a medical red flag?
It becomes a massive concern when it is paired with systemic symptoms. If the dog is ravenous but simultaneously losing weight, drinking excessive amounts of water, urinating constantly, or having chronic diarrhea.
Okay.
That combination points toward metabolic or gastrointestinal disease. That requires diagnostics, not just a bigger scoop of food.
So I can't trust the dog's dramatic acting, and I assume I can't just trust those broad growth charts online either.
No, definitely not.
If I can't trust the scale to tell me if they're getting fat, I'd imagine with the Great Dane's super short coat, I can just look at their ribs to know where they stand.
You'd think so, but visual assessment is tricky with a giant breed.
Why is that?
Their sheer height, massive chest cavity, and incredibly long legs create an optical illusion. A Great Dane can carry 10 to 15 pounds of excess joint-crushing fat before it becomes visually obvious to a casual observer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you have to actually run your hands over the dog to perform a body condition score.
Let's walk through what that should feel like under the hands.
So you should be able to feel their ribs easily with a light touch without having to dig through a thick, spongy layer of fat.
No?
But those ribs shouldn't feel like sharp piano keys jutting out. When you look down at the dog from above, you want to see an hourglass waist behind the ribs.
Right.
From the side, the abdomen should tuck up nicely. You are feeling for firm muscle tone over the shoulders and hindquarters, not soft padding.
We've talked about how excess food warps the skeleton over months and years.
Mm-hmm.
But the sheer physical mechanics of feeding a giant dog can actually cause life-threatening crisis in a matter of minutes.
Yes.
Talk about GDV or bloat. I was reading the descriptions in the source material, and it is terrifying. It's not just a dog with a tummy ache. It described them pacing frantically, drooling heavily, and trying to vomit again and again with nothing coming up.
Yes.
Is it really that sudden and dramatic?
It is one of the most extreme emergencies in veterinary medicine. GDV stands for gastric dilatation volvulus.
Okay, let's break down what is actually happening inside the dog.
The dilatation part happens when the stomach rapidly fills with gas, food, or fluid, expanding like a balloon.
Right.
The volvulus part is the fatal twist. That massive, expanded stomach flips over on itself, sealing off both the entrance and the exit.
So the gas has nowhere to go. It just keeps expanding.
Expanding and putting crushing pressure on the major blood vessels in the abdomen. It stops blood from returning to the heart, sending the dog into shock, and the stomach tissue itself begins to die from lack of blood flow.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because it's such a nightmare scenario, if you go online, you will find thousands of owners frantically searching for the internet magic trick to prevent it.
Oh, I see it all the time.
They are convinced that if they buy the perfect elevated bowl, or feed on a strict geometric schedule, or find a kibble with a specific shape, they are creating an invisible force field against bloat.
The anxiety driving those searches is completely understandable, but the hard truth is that there is no single magic feeding rule.
None at all.
No. We know certain risk factors, like deep, narrow chest cavities, family history, and high stress play a massive role. But changing a bowl height isn't going to rewrite a dog's genetics or eliminate their risk.
I want to highlight a particularly dangerous myth from the sources. Some people actually restrict their dog's water around mealtimes, thinking it prevents the kibble from expanding in the stomach.
Please, do not restrict a dog's access to clean drinking water.
Right.
Dehydration causes a cascade of other severe medical issues. The kibble expanding slightly in the stomach fluid is a normal part of digestion. It isn't what causes the catastrophic gas buildup of GDV.
Now, where does the gas come from?
Often, that gas comes from aerophagia, which is the dog literally swallowing massive gulps of air because they are eating frantically.
What about gastropexy? A lot of people talk about this preventive surgery as the ultimate cure-all. Can we clarify the biological mechanism of what a gastropexy actually does?
Sure. A preventive gastropexy is a surgical procedure where a veterinarian permanently tacks the outside of the stomach wall to the inside of the abdominal wall.
Like an anchor?
Exactly like an anchor. Its entire purpose is to prevent the stomach from physically twisting the volvulus part, which is the most immediately fatal mechanism of the disease.
But it doesn't stop the stomach from expanding in the first place.
Exactly. The stomach can still experience dilatation. It can still fill with gas and food, causing immense pain and requiring immediate veterinary intervention.
Okay.
The gastropexy just buys you crucial time to get to the hospital before the stomach twists and cuts off the blood supply.
So rather than relying on internet bowl heights, owners need an individualized strategy. And a big part of that is managing how the dog physically eats. Great Danes are notorious gulpers.
Very true.
If gulping causes them to swallow dangerous amounts of air, what's the fix? I've seen those intricate puzzle bowls online, but wouldn't that just intensely frustrate a giant hungry dog?
It can, if introduced poorly. The goal isn't to make eating a miserable challenge. The goal is simply to break the vacuum cleaner effect. You can divide their daily allowance into 3 or 4 smaller meals, so there is less sheer volume entering the stomach at once. Safe, slow feeder bowls with large, smooth ridges work well, provided the dog isn't aggressively biting the plastic in frustration.
And we need to talk about what happens when the food comes back up. The sources draw a very sharp line between vomiting and regurgitation.
They are entirely different biological mechanisms.
Okay.
Vomiting involves active, forceful abdominal contractions. The dog is heaving. They usually show signs of nausea beforehand, like lip smacking or drooling.
Right, it's an active process.
Exactly. Regurgitation, on the other hand, is entirely passive. It happens without warning in the esophagus. The dog just opens its mouth and the food simply slips back out, often looking exactly like it did when it went in.
So if a giant dog is repeatedly regurgitating, that's not just, oh, he ate too fast. That indicates a structural or functional problem with the esophagus, like megaesophagus, which warrants a serious veterinary workup.
Precisely. It's a completely different medical issue.
This whole internet magic trick mindset doesn't stop at bloat either. As the dog survives the gauntlet of puppyhood and becomes an adult, owners just redirect that same anxiety into DIY health fads.
Oh, constantly.
The dog stops growing vertically, their baseline energy needs drop, but they still love to eat. And owners start diving into grain-free diets, raw feeding, and preemptive supplements to try and outsmart the aging process. Let's look at grain-free first. People act like grains are toxic filler.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it shows how easily marketing bypasses science. Grains are not inherently bad for dogs. They provide excellent sources of carbohydrates and nutrients.
Right.
The real danger emerged when boutique companies swapped out grains for high concentrations of legumes, peas, and lentils to maintain the kibble structure.
And that swap actually caused cardiac issues, right? The FDA opened a massive investigation into dilated cardiomyopathy, or DCM.
Yes.
Yeah.
The underlying mechanism being researched suggests that these high concentrations of legumes may interfere with how a dog synthesizes or utilizes taurine and other nutrients.
And taurine is crucial for the heart.
Taurine is an amino acid absolutely critical for the heart muscle to contract properly. When that fails, the heart enlarges and becomes weak. It's a devastating disease for a giant breed that already puts heavy demands on its heart.
Then you have the raw or homemade diet trend. People look at a bowl of raw meat and vegetables and think, oh, it looks natural, just like a wolf would eat, so it must be perfectly balanced.
But an amateur mixing chicken breasts and carrots in their kitchen is incredibly unlikely to hit the precise micronutritional balance required to maintain a giant breed's organs and skeleton.
Right.
Furthermore, the risk of severe bacterial pathogens like Salmonella, E. coli, and Listeria is high, not just for the dog, but for the humans handling the meat and cleaning the bowls.
Yeah, that's a huge risk to the whole family.
And if raw bones are included, you risk sharp splinters causing fatal intestinal perforations.
This DIY instinct pops up with preemptive medical diets, too. An owner thinks, well, large dogs get joint issues, I'll dump a bunch of joint supplements in the bowl. Large dogs get heart issues, I'll buy a prescription cardiac diet online.
Joint supplements like glucosamine or fish oils add hidden calories, and they do not create an invisible shield against arthritis.
No magic shields.
Exactly. But more critically, feeding a healthy dog a specialized kidney or cardiac diet is dangerous.
Really?
Yes. Those prescription diets are explicitly formulated with altered phosphorus, sodium, or protein levels to reduce the workload on diseased, failing organs. Feeding them to a healthy dog deprives healthy organs of the baseline nutrients they need to function.
Which brings us to the senior years. This is where observation becomes your greatest tool. Because a senior dog might weigh the exact same on the scale month after month, but they're quietly losing muscle and replacing it with fat.
As their metabolism slows and their activity decreases, muscle atrophy accelerates. Muscle is the biological armor that protects their aging joints and gives them the mobility to stand up independently. You have to actively monitor the muscle tone over their spine and thighs.
But just to be crystal clear, we're not talking about strapping weighted vests on a senior Great Dane or forcing them to run miles to bulk up.
Absolutely not. It is about preserving functional muscle through gentle, consistent movement and highly digestible, appropriate protein levels. You don't just blindly switch to a low-protein senior food because they turn 7.
Yeah.
If they are losing muscle mass, reducing their protein intake is the exact opposite of what their body needs.
And if an older dog who has always loved food suddenly loses their appetite, you do not just brush that off as them getting old.
Loss of appetite in a senior dog is a massive, immediate red flag. It is rarely just old age.
What could it be?
It could be a fractured tooth causing agonizing pain every time they chew. It could be severe nausea from declining kidney function or a side effect of a new arthritis medication. Health comes from observing your unique dog's trends, their stool quality, their energy, their breath, and partnering with your vet.
So let's bring it all back. Let's return to that kitchen door frame one last time. The pencil marks are still there. The dog is massive. But the household has completely leveled up their approach.
The daily meals are meticulously measured.
The training treats are pea-sized. The couch chews are accounted for in the daily calorie budget. That random, dangerous scoop of calcium powder is nowhere to be found.
Thankfully.
And the ego-driven obsession with having the heaviest, biggest dog on the block has been entirely replaced with the goal of having the leanest, most structurally sound dog possible.
And that lean, well-fed, structurally sound Great Dane is now standing by the front door, looking at you, completely ready to move.
Which sets the stage perfectly for the next phase of their life. How do we safely build fitness and endurance in that massive body without destroying the joints we just spent 18 months carefully protecting?
But before we tackle movement, this deep dive into nutrition leaves us with a final thought to mull over, one that goes beyond just calories and kibble.
Okay, what is it?
We humans heavily associate feeding our dogs with showing them love. We project all of our own psychological baggage about comfort food, cleaning our plates, and treating ourselves directly onto our pets.
We really do.
If we truly want to honor the biology of a giant breed, we have to look in the mirror and ask ourselves a hard question. When we slip them that extra scrap of food, are we doing it to satisfy the dog's biological needs? Or are we just doing it to make ourselves feel good?